Why? Hello and welcome everybody. Also good morning. So today I wanted to go ahead and talk about possible Righteous Fire Ascendancy, but also an Ascendancy that I think is really cool, but may or may not massively miss the mark. You guys know what that is, and that's going to be the Smith of Kitava. So Smith of Kitava is one of the 5 Ascendancies being dropped in this big update, so I'll have a link to them down below. But we're going to talk about this character for the sake of this discussion. So first off, why does this character scream Righteous Fire to me? Now, before we even get started with this part here is just a speculation video. We don't actually know what RF will be like in POE2. They confirmed it's going to be a ring of fire around your character, but they did state it's going to be very different. So I assume it's going to have some form of degen on your character, and POE2 really doesn't have many forms of like life regeneration as recovery. That's actually one of the things I did not really like going into PoE2 right away, is when I played like a left side character, it didn't feel like life regen was a real stat outside of getting it really far at endgame on gear, rather than finding it from the tree. With that being said, I want to take my attention to mainly 2 sections of the tree. I'm not really going to talk too much about the manifest weapon, temper weapon, and fire spell on hit. I'm mainly going to talk about Cole, Stoker, Forged in Flame, and Smith's Masterwork. So with that being said, I'll just get these 3 out of the way right away. I think the concept of like forging, tempering your weapon is really cool. The concept of like doing all of this is cool. The problem is you actually have to like whoop out an anvil and sit there and like, hammer the anvil to like temper the weapon. You should be able to put support gems on this, but if I see this as like a 20-second duration, 3-second cast time, that's going to be kind of awful, right? Now, maybe that's like it by default, so you could like reduce it to 1.5 second with support gem and then make it like 35 seconds. Maybe. I mean, it would have to give kind of an extreme buff, because I'm thinking to myself, rogue exiles are going to be roaming around everywhere now. Supposedly, they're going to be like a challenge. If like a rogue exile like pops out of nowhere, are you going to try to like CC the dude, run away, and temper your weapon? Because that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of a meme, right? So I really hope that these feel good when they're like implemented, right? I just hope they don't end up being like a meme. Okay, with that being said, let's talk about my favorite nodes here. So Cole Stoker, which is the glorified Chieftain node, if you guys are familiar with Chieftain, modifiers to fire resistance also grant cold and lightning at 50% of their value. Now at a base, this is not really that amazing. Like, it's good, but it's just saving you a little bit of a bit of resistance. Now, modifiers to maximum fire res also grant maximum cold and lightning. This is quite literally the Chieftain node. Now, this works really well because I believe on the PoE2 passive tree, there is actually a node on the left side that gives you some form of fire res scaling, and then I don't remember exactly what it does, but this in synergy with that, or in conjunction with that, you can already see max res scaling at low level, or I guess, midway through the campaign, which I really, really like. So this is a cool node for me. I especially like this because when I played left side tree, I noticed it was a lot harder to get, I don't know, pretty much everything aside from armor, but armor is an entire another topic for another video. So I really like that you could get more max res side on the left side of the tree. Concern about damage for sure, unless, you're not taking the bottom side here, but nonetheless, a nice defensive ascendancy, which I always like in PoE. Okay, let's talk about Smith's Masterwork. So the way this works is you get this for free, and then every time you ascend, you get 2 points, so you could take 2 of these. So if you decide you're going Cole Stoker, Forged in Flame, then you could get 2 of these from the Smith's Masterwork, right? Although you probably take Smith's Masterwork first, but I guess it kind of depends on you as a person, right? So some of the ones that stand out to me would be Flowing Metal, which is 5 max fire, which with with Forged in Flame would be 5 max all res. That's a very good stat as a even though you're not wearing a body armor, you're wearing a normal body armor, there is still actually a body armor base with like 2% life regen. So the reason I talk about the 2% life regen is because you could actually get 5% life regen per second right here on leather bindings. So between your body and this, you're at 7% max life regen per second. Not to mention, depending on the stage of your progression, like say you're in the campaign, you could grab 75 fire res on titanium alloy, which is now also giving you 37 cold res and 37 lightning res. So even if you're just in the campaign and you just ascended, like right now you ascended, you could still get like, I mean, what would you actually want to take right away in the campaign? I feel like res. I feel like res is probably the most important. What if you just take like body armor grants you 75 fire res, you're now fire res capped, and then molten symbol, 25% of physical is taken as fire. Like that already seems pretty sick to me. You could then like say you ascend, and then now you gain 37 cold and lightning res for the ascension. I don't know how big that is, you know, thinking as a whole entire ascendancy. Like that doesn't seem that big right away, but overall the value definitely comes in. Especially because it's a lot harder to gear up in POE2, right? You don't have the deterministic forms of crafting. You don't have the crafting bench. So being able to target res like this, I think, is pretty solid. Maybe I'm overthinking this, but I really like it. Some other nice things you could get, right? Internal layer is reduced crit damage taken for people who like to face tank. I don't really think there's ever a scenario where I would take paddled plates or lead lining because you're already getting 37 cold and lightning res just for taking the fire res. So for me, these are kind of a meme. I'm just knocking those out. Body armor grants armor applies to chaos damage taken from hits. You would think that this is really nice, and I want to believe that this is nice. In PoE 1, this occurs after your reduction, at least from what I'm aware of. So, for example, if you have 75 chaos res, it would assume you have 75 chaos res before this calculation applies. I believe in PoE2, and, you know, quote me if I'm incorrect here, just go ahead and post in the comments. From videos I saw surfacing a while ago when I was, you know, 2 months ago when we were playing, this stuff applies as if your res is 0. So it's much, much, much less effective, which is very, very sad. So that is like one thing to note. Be scared, be a little cautious about these nodes. They're not as strong in PoE2 as they are in PoE1. But some other things that are really nice on a body armor would be Kitava Engraven, right? Which is 15% increased maximum life. There are not many sources of increased life in PoE2, and this is one of them, right? So this is very good. This should also outweigh the life roll on a body armor at endgame, I think. So this should be pretty nice. Then you also have like 20% increased strength. I know there are some skill gems, I believe, that scale off strength, but also strength is another way to get life. So I actually really like the idea of using a common body armor and grabbing these nodes. I'm also the guy who doesn't really like building around a unique item, at least right away. So I can always see this as an ascendancy where you grab it at the beginning, you use, you know, 2 to 4 points from the build your body armor, you grab the other 2 points or 4 points over here, and then you'd go ahead and maybe like farm through, blast through the game, have fun. Then maybe you drop Smith's Masterwork for like a unique body armor, and then I guess you'd have to go into your temper stuff. So I mean, I'm not exactly sure what you would do there because I don't really think you're going to take 2 tempers. Maybe? Like maybe you go weapon, fire, spell on hit, and then you go tank route. That I think could be a route, right? Because the other one, Manifest Weapon, is absolutely minion related, no? Manifest Weapon is here, and this, which my face is covering, is minion damage located right here. So, I definitely think that would be the other alternative. Nonetheless, I think a very interesting ascendancy, a very cool ascendancy. I myself will be league starting with Huntress into Amazon. Not because I don't like this character, because I also think Lich is really cool, but because I want to play something brand new. I want new weapon types. I want to try the new skills. I want to try the new parry mechanic. So that's what I'll be going, but definitely going to keep my eye on this character when playing Warrior again, because this just seems very unique to me. I like it. All right, anyway, that's pretty much about it. Hope you guys had a wonderful time. Hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. Let me know what you guys would go. Just as a refresher, I'd probably go Cole Stoke. I don't know the exact order. It would probably be, maybe I'd start with the body armor node, but for sure I would go with like the 75 fire res, I think, with the fizz taken as fire into Cole Stoker, and then maybe I'd come back over here and grab like, I don't know, maybe the regen and the life until I get the max res, and then maybe I just respec 1 point for the max res. The max res seems very, very, very strong. I don't know how good the regen is, because realistically, when you're mapping regen, I think you kind of just like die anyway. You die like very quickly. The only time you wouldn't is if you're countering like degen and stuff, I think, which, you know, RF. Anyway, though, I'll catch you guys all later. We're going to go ahead and watch the DM and Gazi interview today on stream. So if you want to stop by, feel free to. Otherwise, we have a few days left until POE2, so I'm going to try to get a Ascendancy overview of most of them. I don't see myself playing the new mercenary guy, so I probably won't cover him, but the other ones we should be able to cover. So catch you guys all later, and thanks for watching, everybody.